Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever video edition of the Tripod podcast. We've put down the dictaphone and picked up a camera for the first time. I'm your host Joe Hagan-Duckers and today I'm joined by Dane Massey, Tom Beattie and Matt Chivers. How are we all lads?
Good.
Good, yeah. Tired, but yeah.
Short day though, wasn't it?
Yeah. How's the short time going?
Let's not get into that.
Maybe for another day that. So today we are going to discuss a topic very close to all of our hearts, and that is of course conspiracy theories. Now I think conspiracy theories do split opinion. Some people obviously just switch off when they hear it and they'll think you wear tinfoil hats at the weekend and in general just think you're a bit of a lunatic. But there are millions of people who enjoy reading them, like ourselves, and there's one at the moment that is going around about Jeffrey Epstein. Did he commit suicide or was he murdered himself? So Tom, I think this does beg the question, why do we enjoy reading conspiracy theories?
I think an element of it is kind of the unknown, and I think a lot of things in the public eye at least leave a lot to question, and I think that's where conspiracy theories come in. And I think sometimes the real answer that we ask us for, the official answer, is not one that we want to believe. So I think the one that springs to mind there is probably Diana, where there's a whole host of potentially incriminating details that I can say on that. But,
be careful.
Yeah, I've got to be very careful here because we know how that one ended. But so I think the public sometimes want to believe certain things, are untrue about certain scenarios. So that's one. There's ones like Elvis isn't dead, that he's still alive.
Still alive.
I think he'd be about 85 now. So there's ones like that where we almost don't want to believe the truth.
Yeah, he's on the same island as Hitler and Tupac, I believe.
Yeah.
So obviously all conspiracies have to start somewhere. Normally they are created by someone with a lot of time on their hands. So when I think of conspiracy theorists, I think of Alex Jones and David Icke. They come to my mind immediately. Now I think it's well known that these two in particular have made a lot of money from their respective theories. David Icke produced a lot of books and videos, such as Secrets of the Matrix, and Alex Jones has his own website and a radio show. So Dane, do we think these type of conspiracy theories, are they made for their own financial gain and attention, or are they based on a little bit of information which they then exaggerate?
I'm not so sure, to be honest. I mean, the way I'd explain it is the human mind. The human mind's obviously a very powerful thing, and some people are very creative, and some people come up with theories that blow one's mind, but there's people out there, I guess, who believe them and read between the lines, and when there is some research behind it, yeah, I guess it could be believable.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think about that?
I think it's quite a rare case in which people like David Icke profit off talking about conspiracy theories. I think people do get a thought in their head, or they hear something for the first time, and then they pursue it. Such as something like the death of Diana, or the different explanations of 9/11 or something like that. They just get an idea in their head, and as the creative people, they just expand thoughts. One thing leads to another. I think that's what conspiracy theories are, aren't they? I think one thing is leading to another. And also I think what Tom said earlier, I think it might be about everything that gets reported in the news is, oh, this happened. Maybe people don't want to just want to believe the wooden facts. They want to take it to something else and find someone to blame, maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, especially David Icke, he's a millionaire, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I think he may be onto something that he's making a lot of money out of it. So to me, the most notable examples of conspiracy theories being validated and proven as true are Area 51 and Bohemian Grove. So just in case you don't know, Area 51 was first publicised by Bob Lazar in 1989 was, and he revealed that there was a classified United States Air Force facility where they have UFOs. And in 2013, the government of America confirmed that this was an actual thing, but they didn't confirm there are aliens. Bohemian Grove In 2000, Alex Jones and cameraman infiltrated and filmed inside the camp called Human Grove, where the most powerful men in the world meet for 2 weeks a year. Past members were the Bush family and previous presidents such as Reagan, Eisenhower and Nixon. So Matt, do you think these two examples confirm that there is actually some truth behind each conspiracy theory, and in the future more will be verified, like Area 51?
Yeah, I mean, I do listen to some conspiracy theories, and I don't think they should be completely sort of eliminated from thought, because there is a bit of there are things that are in the public interest, and people deserve to know. And I suppose with Area 51 and Bohemian Grove, those are things that people definitely deserve to know. And people who investigate conspiracy theories, I suppose, might feel like they have a duty to expose these type of things. So I suppose if you pursue it enough, then there'll be more Area 51s knocking about somewhere. You just don't know, do you? I mean, we didn't know before they were identified, did we? So.
Yeah, it's true. That's the beauty of conspiracy theories. Tom, what do you think?
I think the level of intrigue around, like you touched upon there, it's sort of, it can mislead the public in one sense, but I think as a law of averages, if you came up with, maybe 1,000 conspiracy theories with a bit of backing behind them, it's more than likely that you come up with one where you kind of struck gold, unbeknownst to you. And I think one's on kind of, secret societies and all the rest of it, where you touched upon there.
Yeah.
I think there certainly seems to be something a bit fishy about that.
Freemasons.
Seems to be anyway. Everyone's connected, it seems.
It's almost like it's very interesting for us as historians, don't you think? Because when we do essays and dissertations, etc. in uni, you read different historians' arguments about an area of history, and there's so many areas of history, and there's so many areas of conspiracy too. So, different conspiracy theories support different things, and it almost forces a man to look at something in different ways, and different ways it could be explained. And it is definitely intriguing, but what I will say is history is obviously based on the facts. Conspiracy theories, as we've raised a point, and we're pretty sure we don't know if they're based on facts. Some are, some aren't. So that's for us to speculate.
Yeah, it'd be interesting what the future holds for some conspiracy theories. Time will tell. So for the next part of the show, each one of us are going to bring up our favourite conspiracy theory that we have stumbled across down the years, and then everyone will give that theory a rating out of 5 based on believability and how true we think it is. This could descend into chaos, but bear with us. Tom, do you want to start us off? What's your conspiracy theory?
Yeah, why not? Well, I think it's an interesting one to start with. It's based on the idea that the RMS Titanic, which we all know sank in 1912, was actually not the Titanic that sank, it was its sister ship, the Olympic. And apparently the story goes that its sister ship, which was built 2 years prior to the Titanic in 1910, it struck another ship a year into its service in 1911, the HMS Hawke, which basically wrote off the ship. So it broke its keel, according to this guy Robin Gardner, in his book from 1998.
Right.
And apparently what happened was that the White Star Line, when they got the ship back to Belfast to take a look at it, have a look under the bonnet, if you like, they decided that basically the ship was not going to make them any money. It was written off, and he realised that the insurance company Lloyd's of London would not pay out on the boat if they were to find out what was wrong with it.
Right.
So apparently the story goes that before it was completed, the Titanic was switched with the RMS Olympic, and as we have it, the ship that lies at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean is not the Titanic, it's the Olympic, which was switched with its sister ship for an insurance job.
So in essence, the Titanic wasn't insured.
It was an inside job. It was an inside job. Yeah, so he crashed it into the iceberg, so Gardner contends. He feels that the ship was that badly damaged in its collision with the HMS Hawke that they were left with no option but to sink the RMS Olympic.
They did make money.
Yeah,
from
well,
this?
the interesting thing was that the Titanic, or the Olympic, was insured for £17 million, which would have covered the cost of a ship that would have had to have gone into scrap. But they wouldn't have had that, of course, if the insurers, the Lloyd's of London, were to find out that the boat had been written off in an illegal way. So obviously they hatched the plan, and the rest is history. The rest is history.
So here's a good one, man.
Yeah.
So do you think, so did the boat have Titanic written on it?
Well, this is the thing. Apparently, when they went down there, they only found it in 1985, I believe, the Titanic. You wouldn't think it. But, so when they actually went down there, according to Gardner, they actually seen the letters M and P instead of obviously the letters for Titanic. So read into that what you will. But things are starting to add up here a little bit. I think you'd agree.
You're on something there.
Yeah.
Maybe make a book. Dane, what do you think?
Well, immediately crossing my mind was that the fact it happened in 1912. I mean, Tom, you said it wasn't discovered, the letters on the ship till 1985, but I guess at the time they couldn't discover much, so the actual investigation into the Titanic couldn't have been opened up properly really till years later, I guess, when, you know, technology advanced and detective teams were a bit more...
Well, it's interesting as well that there was a mutiny on the ship when it got to Belfast, because people believed, according to Gardner, that they were on the Olympic rather than the Titanic.
Right.
There was a mutiny of the Belfast sailors. And also it didn't come to Liverpool, which every White Star Line ship would have done. It's a maiden voyage. It was registered there, of course, and so it didn't make its voyage there, and apparently, according to Gardner, that was because they didn't want to suspect in public getting onto what had obviously happened.
Should probably know this, but when did the Titanic, where did the Titanic crash?
Out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, an iceberg.
Yeah, it's an iceberg.
Do you know which countries it made was
Off Canada.
Off
Canada, yeah, I believe. Newfoundland.
Well, the entire marketing for the Titanic, for its maiden voyage, would have to have been totally fake. This is the Titanic, you know, you are on the first voyage of the Titanic.
Well, I can pick it up on that as well.
There could have been no clues that it was Olympic rather, on them.
Well, they were made
On the
to
ship.
be that identical within that year that they were allowed to work on the Titanic. So they were that identical by the end of that year, and portholes were moved. There's photographic evidence of that, by the
So
way.
2 ships were made.
Yeah, so there was 3 ships made in the Olympic class. So everyone thinks the Titanic was like the prominent one.
Yeah.
The actual prominent one was the Olympic, which was the one that crashed.
So the Olympic one supposedly went down.
Yeah.
Was the Titanic just on the
So that-
voyages?
So that went into service until 1935. I think.
Right.
The Olympic.
The Olympic. So
Yeah.
the passengers on board thought they were on the Olympic.
Well, some of them did. The crew didn't.
crew
So
didn't.
the ones who got off the ship saying this is the Olympic.
Well, that's the thing, because everyone would have to be in it.
Well, this is one of the
Everyone.
real cons to the conspiracy, if I'm going to bring it down a notch now, where people say, how would you keep 10,000 people from Belfast quiet on the issue?
Right.
And that was the quote from the book, which I think is a fair point.
Money, maybe. Push money.
Hush money. Well, apparently at the
Well,
Board of
everyone-
Trade
everyone.
inquiry that Dane touched upon there when they had the inquiry into the disaster,
Yeah.
apparently the people who worked on the ship in Belfast were brought into a room where certain things were said according to Gardner, which I know fits very appropriately
Certain
with
things
this
were said.
title. but,
Certain things were done.
Yeah.
Right.
Bit
Do you
of
see
hush
any
money
survivor
right?
testimonies by any chance?
Well, apparently this came out of somebody who worked on the ship in Belfast. His name was Paddy.
Paddy.
Apparently, yeah. That was the second one. His name was Paddy. Yeah.
Right. I've just came.
So it was on his deathbed that it all came out.
So with the 13 million that they got from the insurance company,
Mm.
they could have just paid the passengers with that, couldn't it? That could have been the hush
The
money.
hush money.
Yeah, you
But
keep
then
quiet.
they lost out on all the earnings from the ship. So the whole point of the conspiracy was that they didn't miss out on the earnings that
Right.
they would
This
have got
suggests
from.
that all the like for example the Titanic Museum in Liverpool, it's all made under false pretences.
I'm beginning to believe that, Matt. If I'm honest. Yeah. Over the past week researching this, mate, I've only gone deeper and deeper into thinking, this might go
Into the depths.
see what you think of that. Into the abyss.
It's a pretty bad one.
It's a good one. I've never heard that one.
It sounds like one of the more believable ones, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good to
I don't mind.
Amongst conspiracy.
I never expected you to say that.
You explained it quite well, I thought.
Yeah, your eloquence has helped that.
I reckon.
Yeah. So, what do we think, Dane, out of 5? What are you going to give the Titanic conspiracy theory?
I'm going to go in the middle and say 3.
3? Matt?
I think I'll say 2.
Yeah. I've got to give it 5. I mean, I've really gone down the rabbit hole on this one, mate. Yeah. I'm dying on this hill. I'll tell you.
I think,
Get working on that book.
Well, Gardner's beat me
Gardner,
to it, mate, in 1997, I'm afraid, but
do a little
sequel,
extension at that.
Catherine Rose on the Olympics.
Before you told me how you're going to keep people quiet about this, you have me. It was going to be a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go for... Because they actually got the money. I'm going to go for 4. They got the 13 million.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so that is a good. I'm glad you've brought that
I hope
up.
the viewers agree.
And I hope you're all glad that he's brought it up as well.
Yeah.
Well explained as well. I think that's helped you get.
Yeah. Oh, that's no books.
So, Dane, do you want to give us yours?
Well, mine's about Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Believe it or not, is a continent. I mean, people out there would think there's 6 continents, there's actually 7 continents, but no one actually knows what's in Antarctica because a lot of it remains prohibited and untouched upon by humans. So I don't think many people really take an interest on it because there's such a big wide world out there that they forget there's another continent which is actually 14 million square kilometres, believe it or not.
Straight from Wikipedia.
So it's 60 times the size of the UK, Antarctica. It's a vast piece of land. So and a lot of it remains untouched upon. But there's many conspiracy theories about what remains there. So 12 leaders have agreed to prohibit large parts of the land.
Right.
In an age where we can't agree on many things, 12 prominent world leaders have agreed that Antarctica should be prohibited.
I reckon it was at that camp.
One, two together.
For what reasons I don't know, but the media may be able to shed light on it. In 1982, a film came out called The Thing. Has anyone seen The Thing?
I've heard of it.
Heard it myself, yeah.
It was basically a creature that killed people, and it was set in Antarctica. Scientists went to Antarctica to conduct a trip for scientific research, and you come across something called a thing, a very evil being that wanted to kill them. And there was Alien vs Predator in 2004, again about supernatural beings. So many believe it is a land of the supernatural, and there's another land being hidden away from us, perhaps. And what intrigued me most in it was about the Nazis.
Right.
Related to the Nazis. Now, the Nazis were inventors of great technology. They had a Volkswagen car, weapons for war, etc., etc. They were almost redeveloping the world. But they reckon, a lot of conspiracy theories reckon that their base was none other than in Antarctica, because Antarctica was scientifically more developed than the rest of the world, possibly because of supernatural beings, and they think the Nazis had a base there where they developed their weapons. And the belief in the Aryan race, everyone, do you know the belief in the Aryan race?
Yeah.
There was apparently this was inspired by Hyperborea. This is a continent in Antarctica, apparently.
Within Antarctica?
Yeah.
It's a continent
within Antarctica.
Is it Antarctica? Is it literally just all snow?
Snow and ice.
Nobody knows really.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it is. Some people believe it doesn't even exist.
So a hologram.
And a lot of flat Earth theorists believe it's a big wall that almost encapsulates the world around us, and it's a flat Earth, and it's encapsulated all around by Antarctica.
Very tall.
So the centre of the world is the Arctic, and the world's surrounded by Antarctica. It's not on the bottom; it's around.
Around the
It's
side.
around. So there's all sorts of conspiracies, but the main thing that probably intrigues me is about another world being out there, another force that's not humans, another species. You know, we talk about aliens. Are they based in Antarctica? It's been discussed as a UFO base again by the Nazis, and many scientists who go there never return. So it's just an intriguing one. Is there other life out there? And obviously we're in the stage of global warming now. If global warming does melt the ice caps, is something about to be revealed. I'll be honest, I read this one on Twitter a few months ago, and it got me very interested. I've done a little bit more research into it, but interesting one. Is Antarctica where another supernatural spirit lives?
So the driving force behind this theory is ambiguity.
Yeah.
They just do not know.
They don't know what's there. A lot of it remains uninhabited Antarctica.
There's a lot of places like that. There's a lot of places like that.
Untouched upon. I mean, a lot of I think, is it Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, it's just places like that where people, they haven't been there yet, so they don't actually know what's there. In some places like that, yeah.
So people come up with conspiracies of what's there, but Antarctica is such vast land. You know, I mentioned 14 million square kilometres. It's crazy that all that land's untouched upon.
So you said that some scientists have gone and never came back, as if they've gone to Mars. Which scientists?
So the key one here is someone called Admiral Byrd, who went there in 1961. To Antarctica. Admiral Byrd is an American.
Most admirals have beards as well, didn't they?
Captain
Captain Byrd.
So he was an American explorer, and apparently he went to Antarctica, came back from Antarctica, and was prohibited about revealing anything. He couldn't talk about it. He couldn't talk about what's there. And apparently, in a book he wrote, it was revealed that there was an entrance to another world there. Now, I'm not sure how to read into this because the book was never actually brought out, but people close to him believe that that's what he put in the book.
So what world's this then? What is this new world?
Well, they reckon it could be an entrance to another world, and one conspiracy about the other world it could be an entrance to is none other than Atlantis. That's one explanation. But there's all sorts of explanations.
I was wondering where it was.
It's really Antarctica.
So there's many conspiracies about Atlantis as well, and one of them is that it's underneath Antarctica.
Wow.
You've got me there, Dane. Tom, what do you think?
I think that's an interesting one, Dane. It's one of the favourites of the Word of the Man time. I think certain bits of it fall down from the fact that we haven't got any evidence at all of, it being explored and all the rest of it. I heard a little bit on the pyramids that you mentioned before. I don't know whether you can fill us in on that. That was very interesting.
Well, in 2016, there were pyramids discovered that were believed to be 4,000 foot, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now, we all know about the pyramids in Giza. Apparently the ones in Antarctica are 10 times the size of the ones in Giza.
So
again, there's no evidence.
This guy?
Yeah, who's meant to have built these pyramids as well?
Again, there's no evidence on this, but
Doesn't help.
a lot of it's scientist based, Google Earth based, so there's little explanation for it, but I guess it's there to be speculated about because
it is.
It's such a vast part of the world, it's untouched upon, so it's there for people to speculate about, and particularly, as I've said, in the age of global warming, if it was
All will be revealed.
Maybe that's why everyone doesn't want climate change, because all these things get revealed.
No one wants to go to Atlantis. No one wants to go.
I'd fancy it.
Would you want to go?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're right.
Well, I think your theory, Dane, is it's the most quintessential conspiracy theory. Like,
It's very open,
the
isn't
fact
it?
that there's no evidence, I don't know whether
It's
that
very
helps or
open,
hinders. Matt, out of 5, what are you going to go for?
I'll be generous and say 1. I think that's generous because the complete lack of evidence, but a brilliant one at the same time.
Dane, for entertainment, 5. For believability, I'm struggling, mate. I'll give you the 1.
Dane, what do you want to give your own conspiracy theory?
I'll be honest, I don't believe in it at all.
Do you know?
But what's very intriguing about it is obviously that such a large part of the world is undiscovered. Not just a large part of the world, a full continent. And that leaves one very,
inside that continent as well.
that leaves one very, very open to
Could be anything, couldn't it?
to wonder.
So you're going to go for a 0 or
I'll go 1.
1? I'll join you. I think the fact that nothing's been discovered, I don't know whether that helps or hinders your case. The fact that it's so ambiguous, like literally anything could be there, and the fact it's not.
And there's also no evidence of the Nazi expedition that took place apparently in 1938. But what they're basing the evidence is that the Nazi weapons and technology was so far ahead of the time at the time. Giving it
Must have come from somewhere.
Yeah.
They must have come from somewhere. So apparently it come from
Dane, that was absolutely brilliant. I'm very happy you told me about that. Matt, do you want to fill us in on your conspiracy?
Yeah, mine. I've got a lot to live up to here, but mine is about the idea of predicting the future, like to really accurate extent. And this might have heard about this. It's the Simpsons sort of time travel predicting the future conspiracy. So I'll go through some examples, and the very sort of eerie, accurate, episodes that have actually happened in like real life. So in season 5 of episode 10, the Simpsons parodied a performance by Siegfried and Roy, who were a entertainment duo. And in the episode, which was aired in 1993, in the episode, the magicians were viciously mauled by a white tiger. Who, in real life, Siegfried and Roy used to do act with white tigers. In 2003, Roy Horn, or Siegfried and Roy, was actually attacked by a white tiger in Monte Court, I think. He lived but had severe injuries. Season 6, episode 8, an episode aired, Bullies, Kearney and Dolph. I don't actually watch Simpsons, I don't really watch it, but I'm pronouncing those names right. Kearney and Dolph, the school bullies, they take a memo on a phone saying "beat up Martin" on the old Apple device called a Newton. This was aired in 1994, but the memo got translated / auto-corrected as "eat up Martha," and the show was lampooning the Apple Newton phone.
Yeah.
And Nitin Ganatra, the former director of engineering of the iOS applications, said that this episode provided inspiration for the iPhone keypad. iPhone's obviously made years later.
Interesting.
We have in series 29, episode 1, so reasonably recently, they spoofed an episode of Game of Thrones where a city was completely obliterated, burnt down by a dragon, fire-breathing dragon. And apologies if you're halfway through Game of Thrones, this is going to be a spoiler, so you can turn off now, but in Game of Thrones, a twist happens where Daenerys Targaryen and her dragon set out and obliterated thousands of people by fire. So another prediction by the Simpsons.
There's a Donald Trump one as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
19 years ago, they did an episode where Donald Trump was the president. In series 20, episode 4, in 2008, Homer tried to vote for Obama in the US general election, but a faulty machine changed his vote. 4 years later, voting machines in Pennsylvania had to be removed because the same thing was happening in the election between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney.
So either people were getting their ideas from The Simpsons,
Yeah.
or they'd seen into the future.
They've either seen into the future or are really very good at predicting it. I'll just go through one more. In 1995, in season 6, episode 19, Lisa's wedding episode, Lisa went on a trip to London. In the background, there was a picture of Big Ben, the Tower Bridge, and a very tall, pointy building. That's unidentified. It's not anything. And in 2009, construction of the Shard began. And the Shard in the picture is exactly where it is now. If you were to look through Big Ben and Tower Bridge in that way. So, yeah, that is the Simpsons one. They've managed to really predict. Well, not predict. They haven't. To be fair, it's been on since 1989. The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So the longevity of the show, you could argue that is a reason for getting all these things. But I think the Trump one's quite good. 19 years ago, they had Trump as the president. The Siegfried and Roy one, viciously attacked by a tiger in the episode, and it actually happened. Professional entertainers. Another one.
The Simpsons should visit Antarctica.
Then we'll know that.
Another one in series 8, episode 1. In 1998, it was aired. Homer becomes an inventor, and is shown a complicated question on a blackboard. And Simon Singh, who's the author of The Simpsons and the Mathematical Secrets. The equation shows the mass of the Higgs boson particle. This was first predicted in 1964 by Professor Peter Higgs, but it wasn't until 2013 that scientists discovered proof of the Higgs boson. But The Simpsons, if you look at the actual picture of the episode, it has on the blackboard the equation and the actual sort of process of the particle being constructed as well. So there are many more as well. The list I got these off was a list of 18 times in which The Simpsons has managed to accurately predict the future.
So does the theory state that The Simpsons, the creators can look into the future?
I think the theory is, I don't think it's time travel as such, but it's the idea that they've been able to see into the future and have things in their episodes that have happened in real life so accurately. I mean, there's quite some niche things that have happened there.
It's how they wrote Futurama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I remember watching a video of it on Facebook, how a man went through these sort of examples. And the first one he's sort of like, oh, go coincidence. Second one, yeah. But as it goes on, there are many examples, which does suggest that something is. They know something.
They know something that we don't.
Yeah.
Dane, what do you think? Can they see into the future?
Well, The Simpsons is an American program. It's one of the more popular programs in America. You just wonder the connections of them. You just wonder who's.
Yeah.
You wonder the connections, if they've got connections. This might sound ridiculous, but to the US government, to the Secret Service in America is, I know we've got, is it MI5? Whether they've got links to agencies like this, the directors, and maybe it's their way of portraying a message through mass media, I don't know.
It's just the very sort of exact things that have happened, such as the tiger attack. Things like Trump becoming president, that's almost like a joke. That could be in a show like that. So that's a realistic
Like
sort
a
of
warning,
thing.
they're almost warning
Yeah,
people of
yeah. But the
What
also
can
correct
happen.
one's very good, because that was sort of ahead of its time, that episode, about autocorrect. Now, actually, we're all aware of it, and we're all aware of how annoying it can be.
Yeah.
But The Simpsons got to it first, didn't they?
I mean, some people seem to explain it like, well, these things could feasibly happen. Although we thought it was ridiculous that Donald Trump off The Apprentice would become the US president. He did say, I think in 2001, that he'd fancy a go at running for president. So maybe it was kind of lampooning, I'm not sure on the dates, but maybe it was lampooning that. and then all of a sudden he runs for president and becomes president, and then all of a sudden the coincidence kind of line up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I guess it's them elements a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I think we see a lot of films and programs making a mockery out of the politics industry. I remember
Yeah.
there was a film, was it Ali G, where he becomes
Ali G in the house.
Family
He
Guy
ends up,
spoofing
he ends
as
up
well.
running the country to save a squash club, was it? So,
Yeah, and it makes me think about the times where they did predict the future, but they got it wrong. Like, we don't hear about those times, do we? We
True,
just hear about
yeah.
the times when they got it right.
It's almost a bit like Black Mirror, the idea of Black Mirror, predicting what can happen, all the technological developments that can
Yeah,
happen.
well they did, didn't they, with the social score that's came into China.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe all these producers know something that we don't.
Inside knowledge.
Inside knowledge.
Yeah.
Dane, what are you going to give it?
Two.
Two. Tom?
I think as a conspiracy theory, I'd go down the route of thinking, is it like a secret society? Is it the Bohemian Grove thing again? So if I went from that perspective of Matt Groening, meeting up with Bill Gates and you know, the Clintons and Steve Jobs and all the rest of it, then I might give it maybe a 2 or a 3.
Mark?
In terms of, I think we'll label it as being able to predict the future. I'd say 3.
3. Yeah, I don't know whether they're time travel. I think that's not on.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I don't know, not true. Maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe they've been told things that are coming out at Bohemian Grove. I'll stringing our own conspiracy theory here, and I do hope that they do episodes in Antarctica, so it clears up that one. I'm going to give it a 2 myself. So we'll go on to the final conspiracy theory now. So I came across this theory on Reddit. It was produced by a fella called Jack, who goes by the name of Rargans, and he was told this theory by his parents. And basically it states that Finland as a country does not exist. His parents taught him a convoluted explanation that involves Japanese fishing routes. So if we go back to 1918, when Finland first got its independence from Russia, the notion goes that the two nations created Finland, that is Russia and Japan, so that Japan could fish the sea that truly exists there without any environmental complaints or repercussions, and then these fish are then shipped through the Trans-Siberian Railway under the disguise of Nokia products. This is why Nokia is the largest Finnish company, and this is also why Japan is the largest importer of Nokia products, despite the fact that very few people own Nokia phones in Japan. Nokia's old logo as well used to have a fish on it, and what do fish have? Fins, hence Finland. It goes further than this. I hear you ask, why does the whole world go along with this? Why did the UN go along with this? And it says, no real country could so consistently place first in education, healthcare, gender equality, literacy rates, national stability, and the least corrupt government in the world for so long. So therefore it serves as a concept, as a prototype for all the other countries to follow.
It's got to be on the
So basically, Finland does not exist. And if someone tells you they're from Finland, they're lying. They're from eastern Sweden. So, who wants to jump into this one?
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm going to age the video a little bit here, but on The Apprentice last night, look at
That
them.
is.
They did go to Finland. Something that occurred to me in line with this is that they didn't really show any shots of Finland.
No.
It was like a nondescript lake that they went to. That looked suspiciously
trees,
like the
yeah.
Lake District, if you ask me, Windermere. So little things adding up there a little bit.
Just makes you wonder. This year's G7 summit, Trump and Putin hosted it, and what city was it hosted in? It was actually hosted in Helsinki.
Or was it?
See, according to this, Helsinki is actually
Isn't it
eastern
the same?
Sweden. It's actually eastern Sweden,
It's
Helsinki.
funny you should say that because when I was doing history, I studied about the Vikings and the assimilation of cultures with Scandinavia and Europe. Now Finland is supposed to be part of Scandinavia. Now you read about Danish Vikings, Norwegian Vikings, Swedish Vikings who visit the Rus, Constantinople. You never hear anything about Finland.
No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't.
I mean, when you suggested this and started it off, it didn't seem to add up, but the more you read on, I was like,
Oh, yeah,
"Come on, read on, read on.
The old Silk Road kind of.
It's sort of adding up the more you read on it. So,
Yeah, Matt. Dad?
So they've got their own flag, got their own
Yeah.
language, I imagine.
Yeah.
Could you go through why doesn't the UN? So the UN goes along with the fact that
Because it's such a perfect country. No country could so consistently place first in education, healthcare, literacy rates, national stability, and the least corrupt government in the world. It's there to serve as an example of what your country should be like.
so that's what. I see. It's just the fact that people go there on holiday every year and fly there, and they probably have Finnish passports are all sort of under false pretenses as well, I imagine.
Yeah, well, according to this, any part of Finland is actually eastern Sweden. Finland just does not exist.
Yeah, it's just the idea that why is it that so Finland gets targeted because it's so perfect. That's why people.
Well, that's why people go along with it now, because it's
Yeah.
there to serve as a good example.
I see.
But at the start, it was created so Japan could have free reign over this sea, which actually is where Finland is today, without any repercussions. And Japan's favourite dish, I believe, is sushi, which is fish.
It's just the idea that I don't see why there's a problem with calling it Finland as opposed to Eastern Sweden. Like, I just don't see why there needs to be a conspiracy theory over this.
It's so that Japan can have
Right.
all these. It's all for Japan's benefit from Russia.
To be fair, they've explained it. But when you said it to me earlier, I thought it would be just. I thought you struggled to explain
Explaining
it.
so well. Well, the fella actually got it from his parents, so there are actually people that believe this. Tom, what do you think?
Again, I think it's a very interesting one. I think the motivations are certainly there, and I know there is a dispute, or there has been in the past a dispute about Finland. I know Russia thought at one point that they had claim to Finland, and I think Finland actually, or East Sweden, or West Sweden, they broke away from Russia, didn't they? I think in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
So that bit of it as a bit of historical context.
Yeah.
As for the fishing dispute, I can't quite comment on that. So I think there's bits of it that I certainly think have a bit of weight behind them.
Could be something behind this. Yeah. So Dane, out of 5, what are we going to give it?
I'm going to give it a 3.
3?
Yeah.
That's higher than Matt, isn't it? Yeah. Tom?
Give it a 3.
I'm going to go with Dane there. I'm going to give it a 3.
3?
Yeah. I think that there's elements of it that I can certainly get on board with.
Yeah. And when I first saw this theory, I initially thought about semi-hippie.
How do you explain it?
Very proud Finnish people.
Finnish people. Well, it says here that they're actually from Eastern Sweden. That's the theory. I think it doesn't go into too much detail about that. Maybe that's a...
UC Ascalon.
UC Ascalon.
It's not Finnish.
Not Finnish.
It's 28.
Yeah.
Could have seen
The old
Sweden.
line.
Could have seen Sweden.
Isn't that the game? Yeah, wait,
It's
UC
not Scotland.
Ascalon.
It's not.
Yeah. Andy Avey. He's not Finnish, he's 28.
Could have seen Sweden win a major tournament maybe one day if
Shot themselves in the
Probably-
foot.
I think the figures were different.
People play for Sweden.
Matt?
To be fair, in the same regard as Tom, you explained it really well, and it makes it believable. I'll say 4.
4.
Yeah, quite a high score.
So you think Finland may not exist?
I think it's just compared to other conspiracy theories, it's much more believable than.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really want it to be true. I think it would be really funny, and of course, a lot of heads to melt if they found out that this country does not exist. I'm going to go for 3 myself. I can totally see why this person came up with it. So that.
I'd love to know what a Finnish person thinks.
Yeah, well, let us know in the comments if you are from Finland and you are watching this. Does your country exist?
Well, you're not from Finland, so.
You're from Eastern Sweden, sorry about that.
No, we've just been banned in Russia by the KGB.
Yeah, we
After
are.
what you just said.
Yeah. Right, that's the end of conspiracy theories. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I have to say, Dane, yours made me chuckle. I'm very happy you told me about that one. Let us know in the comments your favourite conspiracy theory and whether you believe ours. So from me, Joe Higgins it's goodbye.
Bye for now. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.